My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Better Call Saul Season 4, and this will be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, then come back and watch this review, because I will be going in depth. Now, I don't know what the general consensus of Season 4 is, but I got a feeling this is going to be an unpopular opinion, in that I found this season to be perfectly fine. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's great. I think it manages to be entertaining and it does have great moments. But as a whole, it just didn't do it for me like seasons 2 and 3 did. And a big part of that is that the best part of this show, the heart and soul, lies within Jimmy's and Chuck's relationship. Because there's so much complexity when you look at the two characters and their relationship, and you really do feel the absence of that this season. Now, I do like what they tried to do with Chuck's death and the aftermath of it, especially how Jimmy and Chuck end on the worst of terms. Like, Chuck's last words to Jimmy were literally, "The truth is, you never mattered all that much to me." And those will always be his last words to him. That is permanent. They'll never fix things. They'll never bond again. It's done. It's over with. And you feel the weight of that as Jimmy's completely silent in the first episode. And it's not until he hears that he might be responsible for Chuck's death that he snaps out of it and gets back on his feet. Like he wanted to beat his brother so badly. That's what does it. That truly is awful. And I do love everything with Chuck's letter to him. You know, it was clearly put in his will a long time ago. And it just makes it all the sadder that there was once genuine love between these two brothers. That Chuck was proud of him. And just how awful things have gotten since that letter was written. And to make it even worse, Jimmy's just reading it like it's nothing. He's munching on cereal. He's mumbling over words. You can just tell that he's turned himself off emotionally completely when it comes to Chuck. And the fact that Kim is the one getting upset over their broken relationship really does highlight so many complexities, not just with Jimmy and Chuck, but also with Jimmy and Kim. How Kim knows that Jimmy loved his brother, and she's just heartbroken to see him in this way, where he just doesn't care at all about him anymore. And you see that again at the end of this season, where he puts up this big show about how much he respected Chuck and all that, and it turns out he was just acting. He just wanted to say whatever it was that could get him his license back. And you can just tell that she's legitimately hurt by the direction that he's taking. And I loved all that stuff. I also loved Kim's reaction after Chuck's death. How she goes to Howard's meeting and she's just like, "Oh, what? So you want Jimmy to be on the board that you knew he would never get on himself? And what's this letter? Just one last screw you, little brother, from the grave?" Like, you understand why Kim is doing what she's doing. You understand it. But at the same time, you feel so awful for Howard. Like, he took Chuck's death incredibly hard. He feels guilt. He feels responsible. And Jimmy's reaction's just, that's your cross to bear, even though he knows better. And when we see Howard again, I think it's like episode 6, and he's just not sleeping. He looks like a mess. It sucks to see Howard, who's such a clean, put-together guy, completely broken like that. And even though he doesn't have much to do with this story anymore, I still wish we saw more of him here. I wish we saw him dealing with the guilt more and him trying to get better more. Because I thought that would have been a great addition here. And I love the way the last episode begins with Chuck and Jimmy in a bar celebrating the fact that Jimmy's becoming a lawyer. And how they're sitting together and they're laughing and having a good time. And this is the way to use flashbacks. To remind characters of how things used to be in the past, so what happens nowadays has a lot more weight to it. Last of Us Part 2 does that absolutely incredibly well, and I like the way the last episode did it. But that said, as much as I loved all that stuff, almost every other story beat this season just did nothing for me. We've got Jimmy trying to find a new job. He gets offered a job and then he says no for some reason, and then he eventually takes one at a cell phone store, and then he starts selling all these cell phones to criminals, and I just didn't really care about all this. I really didn't. Like, it just feels like they know that Jimmy can't be a loyal this season because of what happened in season 3, and they're just trying to figure their way out of this mess that they got themselves in, and they're trying as hard as they can, but none of it's really working for me. And it takes me off too, because we do get this one scene where Jimmy gets mugged by these 3 guys, and later he gets some revenge on them and gets them hung up like pinatas, and Hugh's smashing up pinatas on the way to them, and I'm just like, oh, is Jimmy about to get really dark here? But then just nothing really comes from that, and it feels even less relevant because it has to do with a plot that just I don't really care about. And speaking of Hugh, we get this whole situation where he attacks a cop and they try to defend him and they come up with this big scam. And this is very entertaining and funny stuff that I did like while watching it. But at the same time, it's filler and it's just kind of there to fill the one time. I don't really think it adds anything. And then everything regarding Mike this season, once again, just feels totally disconnected, and I found it to be way less interesting. Like about this German crew working for him and Gus, and there's this one guy who wants to see his wife, and he ends up getting killed in the end, and just none of that worked for me. I had zero investment in it, and I wasn't even that entertained by it. The best moment with Mike this season is when he's in the therapy group session thing, and he can tell a guy's lying, so he just calls him out in front of everyone. I really love that scene, but just everything else I could do without. And then we've also got Kim's plot, and I like the fact that she's realized she can't do all this herself, and she's reminded herself of why she got into this business in the first place, and how she wants to help people, and how she figures a way to do that. I really loved all that and how that causes some distance between her and Jimmy. But what I didn't like is when she does do those couple scams with him at the end of this season. It feels like a regression in some ways. And I've said in my other season reviews, and I have to say it here, this show is so incredibly well shot. There was this one montage at the doghouse which just looked incredible. Amazing usage of neon lights. I also loved this one episode that begins with a Breaking Bad flash forward. Just a little reminder of what comes after this. And I got the feeling watching Breaking Bad is going to be a totally different experience after the show ends. And the cast is once again incredible. Bob Odenkirk has just become this character and he nails it in every way possible. Rhea Seehorn is once again fantastic. Jonathan Banks, I love him as Mike. I think he's such a great character and it's such a great performance. I just wish what he was doing in this show had more relevance. Then you got Michael Mandu, who I think does a really good job as Nacho. You've got Patrick Fabian, who I think's great this season. You see sides of him that you haven't seen before. I just wish we got more of that. Giancarlo Esposito is really good. You got Michael McKean in just a few moments, mainly just the one flashback actually, but he's still really good here. And then you've got this news addition named Tony Dalton, and he plays this guy named Lalo, and I think this guy is just fantastic. He's so charismatic and filled with personality and life. There's that one scene where he's talking to the German dude at the end, and then Mike picks up the phone and he goes, "Mike, is that you?" It's the kind of performance that actually reminds me of my favorite Henry Cavill performance in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He just has that cool, slick vibe to him that I really enjoy. So the cast is all great. It's still a very well-made show, and I love all the stuff with the aftermath of Chuck's death and how that affects everyone in different ways. And even how they go into the whole approach of how Jimmy's trying to come across a certain way. He wants to come across like he's sad over something he isn't actually. How he wants people to think a certain way about him. You know, it's the entire world is a stage idea that you kind of see in Gone Girl with Ben Affleck trying to act sad that his wife is missing. And I loved all that stuff, but just every other story-related element of this season, I could just do without. It still managed to entertain me. I thought Hugh's storyline was quite funny, but it's just like, what's the point? What's the point of all of Mike's storyline here? What's the point of Jimmy just finding these jobs? Lots of this season really does feel like filler. I enjoyed it, but it's definitely a step down from seasons 2 and 3. So I'm going to go ahead and give Better Call Saul Season 4 a 6.5 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Better Call Saul Season 4? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.